We're ready to go.
Yep.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Are you acting as the clerk for tonight?
Oh, yes, thanks for the reminder. The meeting's been posted according to open meeting laws.
All right, roll call.
President Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Renucci. Commissioner Arndt.
Here.
Commissioner Batani.
Here.
Commissioner Hayes.
Here.
Commissioner Morath.
Here.
And Commissioner Lederhouse is excused tonight.
Okay, we will start with citizen participation per Village Resolution 2017-01. Anyone wishing to address the Plan Commission during citizen participation will be allowed 5 minutes. Your subject must specifically relate to matters under the jurisdiction of the Plan Commission, whether on the agenda or not. The Plan Commission should not engage in a discussion regarding comments because it was not part of the publicly noticed agenda. Upon conclusion of the citizen participation segment, members of the audience are not allowed further comment unless they're participating in a public hearing or specifically allowed by a majority vote of the Plan Commission due to involvement in an agenda item. After that mouthful, going once, going twice, 3 times. Okay, I will close citizen participation. Move on to item 6, approve Plan Commission minutes from January 8th, 2023.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 7, amend the village's comprehensive plan by changing the designation of 2 adjoining parcels, RLC 00005 and RLC 00006 on the future land use map from general commercial to general industrial, generally located at 1938 Energy Drive, TJ Properties, John Tyson, agent, application 2024-01. And we see here the memo, and I believe we did the part of this last meeting, right, Tim?
So we did the rezoning on 2 other adjoining properties. If you look at the staff report, you can kind of see there's a multiple number of parcels. So the ones that we're talking about today are on the west side of the property. The other ones that we looked at previously were rezoning on the east side.
Any questions or discussion from the commission?
Motion to recommend to Village Board the approval of the resolution dated February 9th, 2024, based on the findings contained in the draft resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 8, exterior renovation and expansion of existing building located at 2114 through 2116 Church Street in Downtown Design District, CB District. Roger Trader and Catherine Wackel, applicant, application 2023-40. And so I will open the public hearing, and I guess, Tim, if you can give us a brief overview of your report, and then I'll ask the applicant. You can come up and give us a little bit of further overview, and we'll have a discussion, and anybody then who has comments for the public hearing can participate after that.
So this is a public hearing only because the property is in the Downtown Design District, and they're adding additional floor area to the building, and they're, doing basically a major modification. So that's why this is a public hearing, and again, a recommendation from the Plan Commission to the Village Board. Obviously, you've seen the the building, and they're proposing, various modifications. They're all set out in the plan set that they have. There's just, questions about the use of the building. One part of the plan says that the front part of the new building is going to be for retail, but then it's kind of shown as storage on the floor plan. So if that can be kind of clarified, that'd be helpful. The other issue is on the south side of the property. The existing building is right on the property boundary line, and they want to continue that, which is fine within that zoning district, but the way that the plans are drawn, the overhangs extend across the property boundary line, and either that has to be modified, or they have to work with the adjoining property owner to get an encroachment agreement to allow that encroachment onto the neighbor's property. As shown in the plan set again, they have a sign band across the left-hand side of the building, and it basically shows the sign area, and it can only be 37 square feet. And what they've got shown is apparently exceeding that, so that has to be, scaled back to comply with the sign standards. It's actually 37 square feet. So on the top of the second page, I talk about what they refer to as a concave standing seam metal roof. I included a section of the zoning code specifically relating to the downtown design district with regard to awnings. And it basically, states that, awnings have to be the cloth fabric type. There's, in fact, a image from the zoning code that kind of shows the awnings in that little vignette of the downtown design district. There's also an issue with regard to a proposed set of planters and a bench in front of the building on the left-hand side. It's a little bit hard to see, but I believe that those planters and that bench encroach into the public right-of-way. So that needs to be clarified. And if that element is designed to, carry forward, then there would have to be, an encroachment agreement with that, I believe it's a county highway department. So you have to get an encroachment agreement from them to encroach into the public right-of-way. And then obviously that's going to make the sidewalk a little bit narrower at that point.
We have standards around like outdoor dining for the restaurants that are on the square. So the square, that's county road, just like this is county road here too. Does that not require, why does that not require an encroachment agreement with the county, but this would?
So essentially, whenever you make an improvement within the public right-of-way, that's when you have to get that agreement. So if there's an awning that's, hanging over into the public right-of-way, there has to be an encroachment agreement for that.
So I guess because this is more permanent and that's more transitory?
I guess I haven't been involved with your sidewalk cafes. So I'm not quite sure.
I guess I'm just wondering, like the cafe on the square, I doubt that they took an encroachment agreement, but they have outdoor dining, not now in February, but when it warms up a little more, they will.
Yeah, for the sidewalk dining, they are not getting encroachment.
Those are kind of the, the points of discussion that we can have, and hopefully petitioner can, come up and, talk about those. Aside from that, obviously it's a very well-designed looking facade. It's going to look nice color scheme, nice building elements, but there's just those fine points that we need to talk about.
Hi. Can you just push the button there just so?
About that? Yep. Good evening. I'm Nick DePietro with DePietro Design Associates, representing Roger Trader at the building located at 2114 Church Street. To begin to address the planter issue, since that was the last that was being discussed, those will be non-stationary. They'll be removable. The point of those are to kind of cover an existing stepped foundation curb that's out there already. So a portion of that's going to be covered with those, so they'll be notched. And then, yes, part of it will lean over into the sidewalk right away. It's just kind of to dress the building a little bit, if you will, in that area, versus having those kind of tripping hazard curbs, in my opinion. So If that's something that the village is open to being a removable object, which that was the intention, then I guess,
And I don't mean to speak for you, Tim, but I think the more concern is just the county's position. You know, I mean, I don't want to speak for the rest of the board or the commission, but it's kind of the county's right of way, so I'm not sure we have the power to say, but
are there existing planters around at other buildings, pot-type planters? I mean, I know in many districts, they have those kinds of
So-
allowances.
Yeah. So the important thing is the application that we're looking at now as opposed to, other things that might be happening elsewhere. The point is, you're putting something on somebody else's property, which is fine, but they need to, either say, we don't care, or we care, and there has to be, something of a written agreement. Either way, we just need something.
I'd encourage you to just talk to the county since it is theirs, and
Yeah.
then if they don't have a problem with it, then I don't think that
Yeah.
we're going to have a problem in terms of whether it's removable or not. And
Yeah, and that's fine. We can approach it in that manner then, if need be, then we'll address it with the county. As far as the sign ban goes, that's been updated, and I actually annotated that with just a sign on there. The actual strip there is just millwork, so it's part of that whole entablature millwork portion, so it's not really a sign per se. So I guess the interpretation there of it being all signage, I guess I disagree with that notion. There'd probably be about a 1 foot by 3 foot sign probably on that, so we're within the square footage allowances of the signage at that point.
I mean, to me, the way you're describing it is that what you have is that's the area where a sign may go, but it may not be that
Correct.
size. So I think as long as we clarify
Yes.
that for the
Yes.
final, yeah.
And I'm fine with that. As I said, I removed the sign wording, sign marquee on there. That was kind of just to dictate that a sign would go in that space, but I see that there can be confusion there, so I did change that to show just a sign placed in that space. Then moving on to the awning, I guess, is the bigger hang-up. Yes, the code does talk about awnings in there. I guess it doesn't specifically say you have to have an awning, nor does it say that you can't have a different type of roof overhang. And actually, in a different section of the code, you do state that there are marquee or canopy signs, roof-type structures allowed. Now, why this wasn't in the downtown district section, because it does refer to that, I guess that's for clarification in the code, I guess. But in that section, it does state you're allowed 12 feet beyond the building, that's in the non-downtown district, but then in the downtown district, you're allowed to encroach 4 feet into the right-of-way. So obviously, we're not encroaching into the right-of-way, and if you want to, you could consider this as a canopy, but I would call it more of a fixed structured roof. So in that sense, it doesn't really fall under the terms of an awning.
Sounds like a conflict in the code to me.
That's, I mean, I can point out
Tim,
that
can you-
section of the code.
Can you jump in?
So, I mean, you might, give it a different name, but essentially, that, the overall intent of the downtown design district, and it's borne out by the graphics, and that whole section is to mimic the traditional storefront, basically everything that they have, except there's awnings. If, obviously, there is no requirement to have an awning, but if there is an awning, it needs to be cloth. In fact, they have one on the left-hand side of the building right now. And that's what the downtown design district is all about. I mean, if you have a broad interpretation of an awning, that's fine, but you would have to amend the code.
I guess my question would be.
So, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
I'm still going. So, obviously, that is your discretion as Plan Commission to recommend a change, but, it is pretty clear that if there's, to be any kind of roof structure, it has to be the awning type with the cloth and traditional. And, I mean, it's borne out, again, in the language of the code and in the images. And, I'm not quite sure how you can get around it except for amending the code.
Well, again, that brings me back to the code. That's why there's a contradiction in the code. And that is in section 510-135. It's going to be under the permanent non-residential signs. Section 3.4. And that talks about marquee and canopy signs. I guess my question would be is if that section, they're discussing marquee and canopy signs, essentially, if we're following strictly the downtown district section, it does not even infer that you can have a marquee or canopy sign. But in here, it does discuss having one.
Sorry, I'm driving on Google Maps right now. I'm just looking at some of the other things we have on the square. And, I mean, we have some that are, I guess, setups that existed before that was put into place. And if they were to do further work, they would need to update to become into compliance. But I'm looking at some of the buildings on the north side, and there's actually, it's the storefront next to the pizzeria. They have kind of that concave look that you're going for, but it looks like to the picture here, it's cloth to me. So, I guess the intention of the overlay district is to be more restrictive than the rest of the code. Is that right, Tim?
Correct.
I mean, we're in the public hearing, we can discuss. What are the commission's thoughts on, is this something that we should evaluate or should we not?
I think we have a good forward motion going with what we're doing with the downtown design district, and I don't want to veer from that. And I don't want to set the precedent that we can alter it then, moving here and forward. So I'd like to stay with the cloth awnings.
I agree.
So would that be a big hindrance for you if we did the cloth instead of the metal?
I guess that's going to be up for discussion between myself and Roger Trader to see what the new approach would be. Obviously, I want to have something there as a protective barrier for the entrance for both the tenants of the upstairs where that door access for the flight of stairs leading upwards, as well as the entrance to that new storefront area. Obviously, it is not retail at the current state or intended purpose at this moment, but obviously, if Roger were to sell the building, we're setting it up as such that it could be utilized then and transitioned into a retail space for himself to rent out and/or a potential buyer. If it's going to be cloth, I tend to lean away from the cloth, but if that's the overall opinion of the Plan Commission, then I guess that would be the option that we'd have to explore. But I want something there to keep the balance of the building.
And I think what you've got here in your design, as Tim said, I think it looks great, and I'm really excited that we're, you're doing this. It's just, we get into these, finer points, but, I hate that we sound so stuck in our ways that we can't change it, but that then the challenge becomes, we do have some design elements existing on the square, as I said, that if they were to update, they need to come into compliance, and some of these are there to prevent the problems that are there. So I think that's why you've got a little bit of hesitancy from the commission on making a change to that.
Understood.
So I think then there was also some overhang encroachment to the adjoining property. Did I get that right, Tim? Can you speak to that?
Yes, that is looking like we were discussing either cutting that back or keeping it if we can get an agreement with the adjoining property. Roger's been in touch with the adjoining property owner. He is in agreement with it, so we will obviously pursue that.
And then about the usage question that was kind of, I think, also there.
Yeah, obviously, you know, the building's been there forever, it's been used, I've not been inside. So if you could, you know, give us a little bit more details about the storage, the workshop. Yeah, perfect.
Yes, but just because we stream this online, and so people wouldn't be able to hear you.
Any set plans at all for either story of the addition? I might end up selling the building, who knows? And I think I'm of an opinion that we would cross that bridge when we get to it. If I find a tenant for either upstairs or downstairs, it would have to go before the village anyhow. Is that correct? Right now, I just want it for a storage space. That's all I'm going to use it for.
Tim?
So tell me a little bit more about the workshop.
Well, the workshop's a hobby shop right now. It's mine. The front is leased to a pet groomer downstairs, and there's a couple of apartments upstairs.
And that downstairs, that where the pets at, that used to be Ted Minnie's place, wasn't it?
Yep, the whole building was, yeah.
Minnie's.
That's who I bought it from almost 40 years ago.
Yep.
So I guess the concern obviously is, you know, not to give the impression that the building can be used for storage, you know, storage of I'm not sure what. So, you know, again, I'm looking at the floor plan and it shows proposed storage in that new area. And again, I don't think that's the intent for the downtown district, just from a land use standpoint. So at a very minimum, I mean, that should be changed on the floor plan, so there's no confusion about what the building can be used for. Obviously, what's there is there, but to expand it, I think that would be kind of problematic.
If I may, I think I hear where you're going with this. It's not going to be like a storage shed in the square or anything like that. I did this so we could just get the project up, going, have empty rooms available to lease. If you like that phraseology better, I can use that as well. But I'm just going with the idea for storage just to get the ball rolling on this because I want to have a better building. And I'd like to have a tenant someday too, not storage. You know,
Understood.
Right.
Right?
So I think if you simply just change the floor plan label from proposed storage to tenant space, I think that would be, you know, clear enough that, you know, the intent is to use it for retail, professional services, something other than just storage.
Yeah, and then that way, and until you find a tenant and you want to put something of your own in there.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, I think that it's just that if somebody, to your point, if you sold the property to someone, they came in and they said, okay, well, the plan commission approved that this is storage, that's the concern. So let's call it what the ultimate intention is, not necessarily what it's being used for right now or immediately will be used for.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We can do that.
Okay. Tim, did we miss anything else?
No, I think that's it. You know, obviously, you know, the building is all the way to the street, and it's all the way to the left side of the property, all the way to the right side. So, you know, parking for the occupants on the second floor, I'm not sure, I think it's in the public parking space or public parking lot to the side of the property? I mean, is that a ongoing agreement? Because they have to park someplace.
What's with the concrete slab in the back? Is that, are you expanding the property back there too? Is this-
So the problem is you can't get to the backyard except
Exactly,
through the building.
I didn't see any roads, I didn't see any
So,
pathways,
so there's no opportunity for parking in the back. So apparently, again, it's parking in the public parking lot, I'm thinking. I'm not sure if there's a long-term agreement, but essentially, you know, with the addition, there is a small garage, kind of a non-functional garage up front, and there have been a car parked there every once in a while, but they're taking that away, which is fine because it's really not a functional parking area. So again, the tenants have to park someplace.
Could I again, please? That, it's my understanding that I can tell a tenant or direct a tenant to the village, and they can buy a yearly permit to park in the village lot right next to that building. Is that not correct? Because I've done it with a vehicle of mine that I wanted to keep near that building.
That is correct. We do have a policy that allows for that, or an ordinance, I should say.
And the last price I saw was $180 a year for a space.
That I can't confirm. I don't
Okay.
know off the
Oh, it
top
was
of
a
my head.
while
I
ago.
I can
Yeah.
look it up, but I
Okay.
can't confirm that right now. I do want to add to that sidewalk discussion, I think that we should also run it by our Public Works Director. If there's an encroachment in addition to the county, just because I'm not sure if that is cleared as part of the square sidewalks, or if you're clearing that sidewalk.
Do you maintain that sidewalk right now in front of the building?
Oh, yeah,
You are clearing that sidewalk?
Yes.
Okay, all right, then we can disregard my comment.
Okay, so Tim, any other items we need to discuss?
I don't believe so. So if I have the floor here, maybe I can kind of run through the things that we've already talked about. We can kind of clarify if somebody's going to be making a motion. So basically, what we would want to do is get a final plan set, and to show that the sign, you know, with some kind of notation not to exceed 37 square feet, that the sheet A would change the label for the new area from storage area to tenant space. That the awning, covering, whatever we want to call it, needs to be, you know, compliant, or the facade would be modified to remove the covering altogether. So basically, it's either or, you do one thing or the other. And then with regard to the overhangs, again, one or the other. The first option is to get an encroachment agreement that would be recorded at the county courthouse, allowing the overhangs to encroach into the neighbor's property, or else modify the plan so that the overhangs don't do that at all. Aside from that, I think those were the points that we had talked about.
And then the encroachment with the county on the sidewalk, did you say that?
I did not, but yes, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So,
Can I just ask one more question?
Please.
So I know you have the signage for the left-hand building, but if you get a business in the awning building, I guess we call it, where would the signage go for that?
That would either probably be a window sign or some form of the signage on the canopy, I would assume.
So yes, you can have sign on the portion that's vertical, that hangs down from the sloping part, and that is permissible, and as he indicated, you can always have window signs. There can be hanging signs, projecting signs off that area as well. But again, in total, the signage can't exceed 37 square feet across the entire face.
And so when you say, I just, for my own benefit, when you say the entire face, that is for both sides, not, like, combined, not left and right, to get their own 37.
37 total.
Got it. Thank you.
Because the standard, again, is 1 square foot of signage for every 1 foot of lineal frontage on the street. So,
All right, we're still in the public hearing. I want to pause any comments from citizen comments, questions? Go for it. Come on, and say, state your name and address, please.
So, Carl Sawyer, I am not a resident of the village, I'm in the town here, as you well know. Anytime, I guess, I've been watching the square, I used to live on the square as a kid, I spent my whole life in this area. Anytime we have anybody that wants to come forward and put a significant amount of money into a building, you know, I hope that the Plan Commission will take that into effect. And think about that and realize, you know, what Mr. Trader is looking to do here. And, you know, it's going to be a very nice upgrade from the looks of it. And I hope that consideration is given for that and, you know, that you can work through some of these smaller points. Overall, I think it's a beautiful building and I hope it moves forward. So, thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Yeah, and I think that's why the CDA extended this on a facade grant, so we're glad to have the upgrades.
I do have one more question, I'm sorry.
Please, no, go ahead.
So, on the left-hand building, I see you got some light structures on there. What are you doing for lighting for the right-hand side?
The lighting for the right-hand side, there is no current exterior lighting, if that's what you're asking.
So, the way it's proposed is,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I mean, originally, the proposal was to have this as a fixed structured roof, which obviously doesn't categorize as an awning, but if the code's going to view it as an awning, then it was going to have some very light, mellow down lighting was the initial proposal that we was going to go with, but I believe the code with the awning, I don't believe I'm allowed to put lighting in the awning, so. As of right now, we don't have another method at this moment for exterior lighting if anyone would like to have lighting out there.
We're still in the public hearing. Any other questions, discussion, comments? That's a big motion. If we're, yeah, so if we're good, I'll close the public hearing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
All right, so I got my notes here, kind of recapping what Tim went through, and also going on to what Carl stated. I do think this is a great addition to the square, and I'm super excited to see you doing this. So I appreciate it. One of my concerns was the south side property owner. He did approach me about what's going on with it, and I'm glad to see you're going to do the encroachment deal with him, so thank you. The sign, I did have a question also, but that was covered, so the 37 square feet for both buildings, quote unquote. I'd like to see clarification on what you're going to do with the awning, whether you have to resubmit the proposal. I'm not sure if we have to add that into the motion to make the corrections before it goes to the village board. So I'd like to clarify that. The planter boxes, again, I'd like to see, talk to the county, make sure the encroachment is in place, not necessarily for what you're doing, but for future. So, but I think those look great, and I'm fine with it. But I just want to make sure all our ducks are in a row. That, and then Tim covered the tenant space from the storage. That was also a concern of mine. But once that is covered on the plans, if you're doing your wood shop or storing some boxes in there, I don't think there's going to be a problem. And, yep, the parking situation. I'm assuming we're talking about the tenants that are going to be upstairs in the buildings with renting out spots. As far as the downstairs, the retail clients or the retail tenants, it's going to be no different than the couple buildings down from them where they're going to be parking on the square. So not a concern. So that's all I have to say about that. So thank you.
Okay, excellent. All right, I'll close the public hearing. Do you want to make your motion? This is the quiz after the fact. Can you get it all right?
So there is no motion, I'm sorry, because I didn't know how this would all play out and if we'd be bringing it back, so basically just do it on the fly. Again, this is a recommendation from the Plan Commission to the Village Board.
All right, I'll propose a motion to the village board to approve this with the, taking into account the awning clarification on the plan, the planter boxes with the encroachment done with the county, and also checking, do we have to check with the village? Okay, with the county. I believe that was it, the signage, to clarify that on the sign marquee as for the 37 square feet for both buildings. And I think that'll cover it. And the compliance and encroachment agreement with the south side property owner. And also modifying the storage on the plans to state tenant space. Tim?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a very large, complex motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion about that?
Can I just clarify, is the intent for the plans to be modified and reviewed at a staff level then, based on this motion?
Good question. Obviously, the Village Board is meeting next week, Monday, to review this, right? So the question is, can you turn around and provide a clean set prior to that meeting that takes into account everything we've talked about?
You said Monday?
I,
And when would it need to be submitted back to you, or to whomever?
so we asked for our packet materials Thursday afternoon.
So the next board meeting is the first Monday in March. So March 4th, I believe. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, we want to keep it moving too, and, so just, you can work with staff. It sounds like that's the intent of the motion, that, then if these are taken into account, then the recommendation from the Plan Commission on the motion would stand.
I think the biggest question is what's going to happen with that covering? Is it going to be gone? And if it's gone, what will it look like? Or if it's going to be an awning, that's as far as it needs to go.
I mean, I think the motion, your intent of the motion is to clarify and that is in compliance, that the commission is not recommending to the board a change in code. Is that clear enough? Okay, thank you for the question, Eileen. Okay, other questions on the motion and that's seconded? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you both. Sorry for the nitpicking. We're very happy to have you be doing this project, so thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, moving on to item 9, amendment of site plan approved in 2023. First amendment for property located at 2616 South Executive Drive, MDC East Troy LLC. Josh Manti, agent. Caitlin LaJoy for Brian, application 2024-02. And so this is the new development in our executive, or in our business park. You see Tim's memo here, and he has a proposed motion. Go ahead.
So if I might, Kyle is here, right? So basically, they were asking for 3 possible amendments to the site plan. Again, that was previously approved. The first is they provided some more detail about where those washout basins were going to be. That was a question that Forty had about, you're going to be making concrete, what's going to happen to the wash water, so on and so forth. And they provided a narrative in terms of how they actually, do that on a day-to-day basis. But on the plan, I just called that out as the washout area. It's going to be on the backside of the building, and nothing's going to be draining into the stormwater pond or surface waters or anything like that. So that's the first thing, and that's really straightforward. The second thing that they, were proposing to do was to have what they refer to as an outdoor display area. And previously, they had, images of what they've done elsewhere, kind of displaying their product. And they've got a proposed location on the site plan south of the parking lot. So within the industrial district, that's a use that's not otherwise allowed. It's allowed in the business park district, but not here. So again, there's two options. The first is for them to seek an amendment to the zoning code, again, allowing outdoor display of their product kind of out in the front, or if they put it in the back behind the building, that would be perfectly acceptable because it's just part and parcel to their outdoor storage area. So that's going to be up to them if they want to put it in the back or seek that amendment. I did draft the motion thinking that maybe that they would just relocate it, but I'm not sure, and Kyle can speak to that. So the other thing, those were the first two proposed amendments. The other amendment deals with the security fencing around the perimeter. And if you recall, the site plan that they had submitted showed a perimeter fence all the way around the outdoor storage area. And they are now proposing to not do that around the entire perimeter. But as I indicate in the staff report, that is specifically a requirement of the outdoor storage area, conditional use, and that's why they proposed the fencing in the first place. So here again, that's not something that the Plan Commission can approve at this point. Because it is a black letter, you shall have a fencing, screening, or something around the perimeter. So those were the three areas, and Kyle, if you want to jump in.
So yeah, I did talk to Josh Monti, the owner, earlier today regarding both of them. He would like to apply for amendment on both of those items. Just the way he operates their business for the outdoor display area, basically it's where they're going to take their contractors who are going to be carrying this product that they will be selling. If he puts it in the back display area, he just has some concerns with how it lays out for getting the contractors to walk through there, et cetera, et cetera. It's not set up as a retail area where customers are actually coming in, trying to buy things from there, et cetera, et cetera. He's basically just walking through the contractors that will be using his product to see what's out there. So he would like to go for an amendment on that one. And then same thing with number 3 from their standpoint. On the east side and south side there, where all that gravel lot is, it will be easier for them to maintain, to get access to the pond if they ever need to go there for snow clearing, et cetera, and kind of keep that area all clean and tidy if they don't have the fence there, because then that way they can have free and clear access to get the snow out of there, pull gravel back, clean it up, et cetera, et cetera.
So I'm looking at the site plan. I guess I didn't follow the whole thought process about the snow plowing with regard to the fencing. I'm sorry.
It just allows it for a place to have it to go, so he can push it right off over towards the pond area there, so that way when it's melting, it just drains right into the pond, as opposed to if you were to put it up against the fence line, say that starts to erode at some point in time, needs to be cleaned up, well then all that's getting washed onto the other side of the fence line, whereas if there's no fence line there, he can just pull it back, clean it up.
So forgive me, but I believe you are proposing the fence on the south side and not on the east and the other side.
It would be the north side to close off basically where his building is, the extension on the way down, leave it off the east side and leave it off the south side. And then MP already has their fence on the west side there.
So between the corner of the building and the property boundary line, obviously, there's going to be a gated fence.
Correct.
Okay. But going on the image to the left, there is no fence. But there is a fence on the
When you
bottom
say
side.
to the left, I guess I'm not sure.
Well-
Are you talking on the east side there, the east side of the building?
Okay, so basically, it would be the west side to the top of the picture.
Yep.
There is no fence.
There is fence there, yep, so it goes, so that fence
Right,
runs
but,
up from the corner
okay.
of the building where the gate is, and then up to MP's fence as well.
Correct. Okay. But on the other side, on the east side,
Yep,
you are showing a fence there,
correct.
and you're saying you don't want a fence there either?
Nope, that fence will go there, so then just running south along the property line where the pond is, and then also on the actual south side of the property, running back up to the west.
Okay. So, I mean, we'll leave that whole discussion for another day. I mean, we can't approve a modification to the sign, or I'm sorry, the fence requirement. But again, where you're saying that you want to push the snow, you are showing that there's a fence.
Correct, which is what he's looking to amend to get rid of that.
Okay.
So I think, Kyle, I think what would be helpful if we saw kind of like what we've got versus the change.
Yeah, so from our standpoint, we'll amend both of those in the plans, we'll resubmit, come back from planning commission and go through those steps.
Okay, yeah, so I guess, Tim, if you could take a look at that then, based upon those deltas and understand like, okay, so then this is specifically what we would be amending, because I'm not,
Right. So, point of clarification, because this is, kind of developer-driven, I'm assuming that the intent is for developer to pay for the full cost of the amendment process.
I mean, yeah, anytime we are asked to make changes to the code, then, yeah. You guys okay with that?
Yeah, I would say yes, we're comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I'm not sure, how soon we can get, public hearing notice and so on and so forth drafted. But obviously, I will provide the actual ordinance with the proposed change. It's going to be up to them to verify that's their intent. But I'll do the legwork and get that all into place.
You good with that?
Yep, perfect,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the rest of the commission? Okay. Sounds good, thank you.
So I guess the only motion, item for action on the motion is to approve the proposed location for the washout area. The other two elements are things you can't address tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the location of the washout elements.
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. And you didn't have to answer 40's questions about, so, Have a good night. Thanks for coming. Okay, item 10 is on hold. We don't have a discussion on this. This is related to Overlook Ridge, the proposed planned development district with a total of 145 multifamily dwelling units, Sawal Development, application 2023-37. Link there to Zoning Hub for details. There is some other discussions ongoing with Sewer Pack, so we have to wait on some adjustments before they can submit the final development plan. Item 11, recommendations for future agendas, no packet materials, so we have these 4 items. I'm assuming you're still researching? No updates? Okay, anybody have other things to add?
Can we just put a little more priority on the polystructures? I'm starting to see more and more pop up, so I
Yeah,
think we
and
can handle this.
I've had a few questions on that too, so I would like to address that. I think some of the other items around things like tiny homes and whatnot, Eileen sent out the discussion. We are going to have a joint plan and village board meeting to talk about housing and the challenges associated with that. And, you know, we do have some cottage housing ordinances and other things like that that you've already gotten some good feedback from developers on, I believe.
Yes, but I think this discussion's directly related to like almost having like a mother-in-law suite on a single-family residential property. Is it this tiny homes as accessory uses in residential? So it would be like a second structure on a single-family zoning property.
Right. So 40 was the one that kind of brought it up. We do have our cottage housing provisions, and that's what he was referring to as the tiny homes, so.
Well, he's not here, so we'll have him clarify next time. All right, any other items to add to this? Okay, our next meeting is March 11th, 6:30. I suspect it will be needed. It's as if needed. So with that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Good night. We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Turn off your mics, please, and check the ones next to you if the